that we're so grateful to have someone doing is the job of field organizer. Going out, talking to people, rallying them around the causes for the greatest amount of justice. And here we have a field organizer from the mighty Vermont Worker Center and a longtime Brattleboro community activist. Please welcome Shela Linton. Hello, Vermont! Hello, Vermont! Repeat after me. Black Lives Matter!
Black Lives Matter!
Black Lives Matter!
Black Lives Matter!
Immigrant Lives Matter!
Immigrant Lives Matter!
Immigrant Lives Matter!
Immigrant Lives Matter!
Refugees Lives Matter!
Refugees Lives Matter!
Refugees Lives Matter!
Refugees Lives Matter!
Women's Lives Matter!
Women's Lives Matter!
Women's Lives Matter!
Women's Lives Matter!
Indigenous people's lives matter!
Indigenous people's lives matter!
Indigenous people's lives matter! Poor people's lives matter!
Poor people's lives matter!
Poor people's lives matter!
Poor people's lives matter!
When I say people, you say power. People!
Power!
People!
Power!
When I say people, you say power. People!
Power!
People!
Power!
Thank you, everybody. My name is Shela Linton, and I'm actually representing today from Brattleboro, Vermont, the Root Social Justice Center. I am truly honored to be here in front of all of you on yet another day of solidarity from DC to Montpelier, Vermont. I was asked to speak today, but I am no expert in climate change or climate justice. And I didn't see myself in this movement until recently. The whiteness and invisibility of people of color in this movement, both across the world and in this community, made me think that this was not my movement. That I had all those other issues to work on. Racial justice, women's rights, disability rights, which we all should be working on. But I left out climate justice. I know differently now. So I offer you these words. In December of 2015, I was invited by Grassroots Global Justice, a national organization, to the Climate Accord COP21 in Paris. I was part of a 100 delegation from the U.S. of frontline communities. These communities were made up of people of color, indigenous people, women, and the poor. Our families were made up of queer people, trans people, immigrants, and refugees. We are your frontline communities. I am pleased and happy to hear many of the speakers up here talk about the rhetoric of how frontline communities, though the most impacted, have been left out of the discussion and have been left out of the movement. And it is today and each and every day and from here forward that we will not continue to allow that to happen. Today we talk about not only climate, but climate justice. We talk about the injustice and how and who this climate injustice most impacts and why. Who is benefiting? Let's really think for a moment. Who is benefiting? Who are the ones profiting? That's right. From our floodplains, to the toxic waste dumps, to the emissions, to our choices. Do we think we are not in that? We make choices too. The reality is someone is always benefiting and someone is always profiting. need to invest in divesting. That is not enough for many of us who look at our Vermont state and our communities and drive our hybrid cars, have solar panels on our homes, have compost in our backyards and rides our bikes. It is not enough. Who agrees with me out there? We must understand that though these are great ways to contribute to the overall climate injustice, that it does not reach the root. Yes, we are great, but if these things do not address the root of our problems, they do not move our movement forward. When I was in Paris, I met people from around the world, and even people from Vermont. I will never forget their stories. Earmuffs, young kids. I heard stories about how people came into villages and took people's lands and took out their crops, their plants for the survival, not only for the soil, for their land that they live off, but to give the nutrients and to create the air that they breathe, to feed their children, to keep their lands. They came in and they took away their plants, they took away their lands, they took away their livelihoods, they took away their villages. They took away their men from their regular jobs that they would do because they no longer existed. They poisoned their communities. They poisoned their water. And they raped their young women and children. These are the stories that people have to hear. And I have this stage to tell you the truth, that though you may not see it here in Vermont, does not mean it doesn't exist. Climate injustice is deeper than what we see on the surface. We must not only divest from all the resources that continue to destroy us, but to reinvest in the people and the systems that work. We have people dying. Right now, while we rally, people are dying. We're lucky enough, if we call it luck, to live in Vermont, to live in the north, to live more green. But as many of the other speakers said, they're coming for us, and they're already here. When I listened to people's stories around the world, what they shared, these were people living it. These weren't people who came to do a speech that was sent by somebody. These were people who were coming from their own communities of devastation. People that were pleading for help, asking for change, and needing our solidarity. When I came back to Vermont, I realized that that wasn't just some storybook, some mystery over in Global South or in all those other countries. The stuff that I heard was happening right here in Vermont. To our indigenous lands here being taken, to an infrastructure of a pipeline when there's a law that says we have or not supposed to have any pipeline, to Bennington's water. This is real. It is here. It is not just the Global South. It's not just the inner city. And it's not just the coastlines. It's well and live here in Vermont. I want to invite us to understand how racism, patriarchy, and classism are neatly woven thread in the foundation for what we see here today. Give me an amen if you agree with me. I can't hear you. Give me an amen if you agree with me. I want you to say it with me. We must understand how racism, patriarchy, and classism is at the root of our climate injustice. Say it with me. How racism, patriarchism, and classism is at the root of our climate injustice. One more time. Say, racism, patriarchism, classism is at the root, at the root, at the root, at the root of climate injustice. This is not about climate change. For me, what this is really about is systems change. We cannot live on a planet that's dead. And until we decide that we need to work together and understand that that neatly threaded, woven system is what plays against us, we will forever be divided. If we do not stand up for our immigrant brothers and sisters, our refugee brothers and sisters, our queer and trans brothers and sisters, our women, our youth, our POCs, people of color, we will always fall short. It is imperative that we understand that this is about systems and that we must change the systems of racism and capitalism for all of us to survive. So I say this. I have a theme going on this year. It is not about showing up. Some of you might have shown up here today because it might be something you want to put on your resume. I'm for real. It's a laugh. You can laugh because for some of us it's true. But I invite all of you to mark up your resume with a lot more than coming to this rally and being a part of this movement. I ask you to join the revolution and to put that on your resume. And in closing, it is not about just showing up. It's about how you show up. It is all of our job in this movement to help change the system that does not work and to replace it with what does. It is our job to listen to the frontline communities that are the most impacted and have the skills, the knowledge, and have been working on this issue since day one. Why? Because they have no choice. I implore you to stand with our frontline communities, to love them, to embrace them, and to be with us. And I ask you in closing to say, when I say systems, you say change. Systems! Systems! When I say systems, you say change. Systems! 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 I can't hear you. That was not so great. Let's try one more time. When I say systems, you say change. Systems. 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 Change!